Hello, my name is Ayana. I am a Brazilian architect born in the north of Brazil in Amazon region, and now I'm a PhD student in University of Brasilia. It's a pleasure to be here, too far but connected, and I will to present a paper about some aspects of my master's research that happens in University of Brasilia too, guided by Professor Cláudia Morim. The article studies a reflection about a subject related to bioclimatism and bioclimatistic architecture. If we understand bioclimatistic architecture as a link between man, climate, and buildings, we can remember a lot of aspects of the environment that interferes in this relationship. Here we propose a reflections on the issues of natural ventilations and daylight. In tropical climates, buildings have a big challenge, allowing daylight and natural ventilation to penetrate in indoor space without solar gains. In this context, shadings is its welcome and can be an effective resource to combat the discomfort. So, in this research, we propose to understand how Severiano Mário Porto designed his buildings in extreme north of Brazil, specifically in Boa Vista City, the northeast capital on the country. Severiano Mário Porto is an icon of Brazilian architecture. He studied in Rio de Janeiro and in 60s decade went to Amazon to produce more than 300 projects with a different perspective and too much integrate about design, materials, techniques, and florist. The method was developed in 4 stages. This was a survey who worked with a first data source, so it was necessary to conduct searches on different scales. First, the architect's documentary collection was consulted in the Research and Documentation Center of the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism in Rio de Janeiro. This nucleus carries out an important work of documentation on architectural projects relevant for Brazilian production. Subsequently, Brazilian standards about heritage preservation were consulted to understand the stage of conservation of Severiano Mário Porto's project in Boa Vista City. The second stage was the morphological diagrams production to understand the elements present in the design of the projects with the purpose of using ventilation and daylight. After that, a monitoring protocol was applied according to research by the International Energy Agency Task 61. In a specific case, we work about the situation of photometry, quality of view out, and we applied a questionnaire survey. Finally, happened the computer simulation for daylight was performed to compare the conditions found by the monitoring protocol and the perspective of using daylight in the original project intention. The simulation was performed by Design Builder program with radiance calculations. According to the documentary survey, we find 14 projects from Severiano Mário Porto in Boa Vista City. After that, in according to the stage of conservation of the projects, we find 4 case studies and select 3 schools partially preserved and 1 building in a better condition to preservation. About the results for morphological diagrams, we can find some common elements used in project for Severiano Mário Porto in the city. They are buildings with facades of low reflectance and specularity, high opening rates on the facades, facades not uniform in relation to solar orientation, internal space with cross ventilation, and brise-soleils, cobogols, eaves, marquees, pergolas, and vegetation like elements for sun protection. About the monitoring protocol, we can understand that the real conditions for daylight is not so good. The measures about illuminance on task was not satisfactory. About the view out, the results are better. They showed medium and high quality, with the number of layers being decisive. And finally, about users' perspective, we can understand that they try to use the daylight in their workstation, but this is not possible. Regarding the daylight computer simulation, it's possible to evaluate that the three parameters attend a good perspective. The results point that the original project has a better daylighting conditions than the actual stage in analysis rooms. So, this research concludes and understand that there is a strong bioclimatic aspect in the works of Severiano Mário Porto in Boa Vista City. The architect produces space with interact and respect about construction for humid and hot contexts, like in Amazon region. However, the dichotomy between the results of the monitoring protocol and computer simulations for daylight make it clear that interventions made in buildings without consideration in the original design intentions, it's not so good. Well, that's the presentation about our research. I would like to thank the opportunity and be available for questions, suggestions, and collaborations. It was a great pleasure. I wish everyone a good event and I hope you are all well and healthy. See you next.